Rewatching the end of the thrilling episode Planned Execution from the 6th season of Better Call Saul, there was a certain line uttered by Howard Hamlin that caught my attention. Howard, in this scene, confronts Jimmy and Kim after falling victim to another one of their scams, saying,
"Screw the money, you did it for fun. You get off on it. You're like Leopold and Loeb."
This line made me think of another famous crime duo, with the name of Bonnie and Clyde. Thinking about it, there suddenly were many parallels I saw between the relationship portrayed in the Bonnie and Clyde movie and that of Jimmy and Kim this season, up until the pivotal 9th episode. After all, the Bonnie and Clyde movie, to me, presents a deconstruction of their romanticization, with Bonnie trying to find real love in her life through this life of criminality, but with only being left with pretense and disillusionment in the end. I think something similar can be observed with Jimmy and Kim, so let us explore why that is the case. This video ties in with my previous video essay on the relationship between Bonnie and Clyde. So if you want a deeper understanding of the relationship, definitely check that out as well, as I am going to focus on Jimmy and Kim in this video. But now, onto the comparisons. So, let us begin with the question of why both couples engage in a life of crime together. In my previous video essay, I elaborated that Bonnie does so in order to pursue thrilling love. She was pretty bored with her ordinary life, so the idea of committing crimes together with Clyde was pretty exciting for her, which is why she would often try to have sex with him after their robberies. Clyde, on the other hand, sees the robberies more as a means to an end to make money, with no romantic interest. I believe that we see something similar with Jimmy and Kim. For Kim, these scams are a way of expressing and elevating her love, just like the robberies are for Bonnie. But why is that the case? Well, that could be partially explained by a flashback we see in episode 6 of season 6, when Kim was still a child. From previous flashbacks we have seen that Kim's mother was very neglectful, not really being there for her and not showing much affection. In this flashback, we see young Kim getting caught for shoplifting, as she stole some earrings. The store owner calls her mother over, who scolds Kim in front of him in a harsh manner. However, it turns out that Kim's mother was only acting and actually stole the earrings herself now, expressing that she is very proud of Kim for trying. This is very significant, as this is the very moment that Kim is taught that the only way to show affection for someone is to engage in scams together. Kim's original plan was probably to simply receive her mother's attention for a moment. She knew that with something as serious as shoplifting, her mother would have to come over and talk to her, even if it meant getting scolded. However, she does not receive her wished attention in form of discipline, but rather a brief show of affection, which teaches Kim that her actions that might hurt other people have no consequences at all, and that life is all fun and games. It is for a reason that she keeps wearing these very earrings throughout the series up until the 9th episode. Now, for Jimmy, these scams in the beginning are just a way to make some money, just like for Clyde. For both of them, the scams and robberies are primarily about personal gain. This can be explained by the flashback, where the conman claims to Jimmy that there are wolves and sheep in this world, whereupon Jimmy decides that he wants to be a wolf, stealing his father's money. When he starts doing the scams with Kim, they both realize that it brings them closer together, so for him, these scams also turn into a way of showing love. Still, for Kim, these scams play a much more important role in terms of love, while for Jimmy, they can still only be a means to an end. This can be seen when Jimmy discovers that Judge Casimiro has a broken arm, which ruins their initial plan. Disappointed, he calls Kim and says that they will have to cancel it. Kim is currently on the way to an important meeting, which would have been a great opportunity for her career, and for helping many people in need. However, as soon as she hears that their scam might be cancelled or delayed, she instantly makes a U-turn and goes to Jimmy in order to make sure the scam can take place. Here we see the difference between Jimmy and Kim. While for Jimmy, love is certainly an aspect of it, he would have never acted the same in Kim's situation. However, for Kim, the scam represents their love, and by saving the scam, she ensures that their love is saved as well. Even though Jimmy is not as detached as Clyde, we still see the obvious discrepancy in why they engage in the life of crime and cons. For Bonnie and Kim, the scams and the robberies mean so much more than they do to Clyde and Jimmy, as they are not primarily seeking personal gain, but love in them. Another parallel in terms of their relationship is that they are ultimately living a life of pretense. Both Bonnie and Kim hope to find love in their partners, but various things get in the way that almost ruin their fantasies. For Bonnie, this is the case when Clyde does not return the love she is showing, and when the gang becomes larger, with Clyde barely noticing her. Her fantasy is kept alive, however, when it gets smaller again, and Clyde finally shows her some affection. Now, what makes Kim's fantasy of a happy and loving life with Jimmy almost shatter? I believe it is the combination of things that happen in Season 5, when Jimmy starts to turn into Saul Goodman. Jimmy in the season takes his scam and criminality to a next level by getting involved with the cartel and now hiding things from Kim. As a result, Kim doesn't recognize him anymore, and their love is severely tested when Lalo walks in and threatens them, as this is a reflection of Jimmy's new reality, where there is no space for love left. What keeps her fantasy alive, however, is the idea she has while they are hiding from Lalo in a hotel. She's thinking of scamming Howard in a fatal way that would cost him his career and reputation. She chooses Howard specifically because she knows that Jimmy has a lot of suppressed anger directed at him. This represents a coping mechanism to distract herself of her dying love for Jimmy, as she hopes that their shared fun would keep them together. Kim has become more like Bonnie now, as both don't shy away from actively hurting other people for the sake of elevating their love. And more importantly, both Bonnie and Kim are now living a life of pretense, trying to keep their fantasies of their love alive. So, what are the moments when their fantasies finally shatter? For Bonnie, it is the bedroom scene, where she expresses her desire for a quiet and peaceful life with Clyde, while he can't imagine any other life than them engaging in robberies. Here, Bonnie sees how there was no space for love in their life of criminality. They barely showed their affection in some other way, like engaging in a meaningful conversation or having some quiet time together, as robbing banks was all they did, feeling like lovers in one moment, while feeling like business partners in the next. For Kim, her fantasy nearly shatters when she hears that Lalo is still alive. But she, like Bonnie, falls into self-deception and pretends she didn't hear that in order to keep their love alive. In that moment, she realizes that she has become just like Jimmy, or rather, like Saul Goodman. She now is in the game and also keeps things hidden from him. The reason she does this is so they can continue their con with Howard, because otherwise she would have to face the truth that this very con is the only thing keeping them together at this point. Like Bonnie and Clyde, Kim and Jimmy now know nothing else. They too settle for their lives as criminals or con artists, and barely have any other ways to show their love than to engage in these scams. This is especially evident in the scene where they have sex after learning that their scam with Howard was successful. However, Kim's fantasy does finally shatter when Howard, the innocent man whose life they were trying to ruin, gets shot by Lalo. At that moment, Kim pays the ultimate consequence for not putting an end to the scam. Had she been honest with Jimmy, and had they stayed hidden, this would not have happened, which is why Kim blames herself and can't keep up her pretense. Like Bonnie, Kim now realizes that there's no turning back and that things can't be undone. There's even a fairly similar shot of Kim and Bonnie lying in bed, disillusioned, with Saul and Clyde standing behind them. The similarity of the shots show what a similar situation they are in. They regret their actions and wish they could go back, because their fantasies have been shattered. Clyde and Jimmy do not show the same understanding, and only respond with meaningless answers, with Jimmy saying they will soon forget all about it, and Clyde responding with a half-hearted I love you. Things haven't really changed for Jimmy and Clyde, as both would still continue with their scams and robberies. This is evidenced by Clyde's daydream in which they continue to rob banks, and Jimmy's failure to acknowledge their actions and by his continued life as Saul Goodman. For Bonnie and Kim, however, everything has changed. Bonnie is not given the chance to move on from her fantasy, with her paying the ultimate consequence for ever believing in it. Kim is able to end the relationship with Jimmy, where she finally acknowledges her pretense and self-deception in their relationship, admitting how she put her own pleasure over Howard's life. After the conversation with Cheryl, where she brutally lies to her in a manipulative way, Kim realized that she has created her own prison of having to continue with her scams even if she doesn't want to. Before, scams just represented love to her, while now she just associates it with shame and disgust. Although Kim is able to leave this relationship, she continues to be haunted by guilt for the actions she took to keep her fantasy alive. Thank you so much for watching this video. I was quite surprised how similar the different steps in their relationships are and how many comparisons can be made. If you thought of other comparisons or want to share something in general, definitely feel free to do that in the comments. Until then, see you next time and have a great day.